Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a learning resource. It's a transcript, actually, called the Easy English Guide, describing your hometown.
Right, which is such a great topic.
It really is. And the mission for this deep dive is basically to master one of the most common, but somehow surprisingly intimidating questions you get when you're traveling.
Or even just, meeting someone new at a coffee shop.
Exactly. The classic, tell me about your city. So whether you're actively learning a new language or you're just a native speaker trying to improve your small talk, we're going to unpack how to navigate these everyday conversations naturally.
Because we all freeze up, don't we?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Think about it. You're at a conference, maybe in another country, someone buys a coffee, smiles, and just asks you that simple question, tell me about your city.
And suddenly your brain just stops working.
Right. You feel like a tour guide who just dropped their script in a puddle. Your mind goes completely blank. You want to say something interesting, but all that comes out is this mumbled, it's nice.
Yeah. That is the classic conversational freeze. It's so funny because you have literally a whole lifetime of memories in your hometown.
Right. You know, the streets, the hidden cafe.
Exactly. The parks, everything. But when you're asked to summarize it for a complete stranger, all that rich detail just evaporates.
It's like we just stare at the other person and offer a one-word answer that completely shuts down the interaction.
Which is why this guide is so brilliant. It moves completely away from just, handing you vocabulary lists to memorize.
Yeah, nobody wants another flashcard.
Right. Instead, it actually diagnoses the psychological wall we hit when someone asks us where we're from.
So let's start there. Let's look at the root cause of that freeze. According to the guide, the biggest trap people fall into is thinking they need to give, like a geography lecture.
The Wikipedia mindset.
Yes. People hear the question and immediately try to recall specific population numbers or, I don't know, exact weather data in degrees.
Major industrial exports.
Exactly. It's like the minute someone asks about our hometown, we suddenly think we're Wikipedia. But, I mean, isn't it natural to want to give accurate data?
Well, yeah, it is a fascinating psychological defense mechanism, really. When we feel put on the spot socially, we crave certainty.
Because facts feel safe.
Exactly. Facts are safe. If you state that your city has a population of 2.5 million people, nobody can argue with you. It's factually correct.
Right.
The guide actually highlights a specific learner who always tried to explain precise demographic data whenever he was asked about his home.
But being factually correct is just terrible for casual conversation. It feels like you're reading an encyclopedia entry to a stranger.
Right, it's a mood killer.
We feel this weird pressure to give an official report, but nobody at a coffee shop actually wants a geography lecture. They're just trying to say hello.
We confuse information transfer with human connection. That's the core issue. Raw data doesn't give the listener any emotional grip.
Emotional grip, I like that.
Yeah, because if I tell you my city covers 400 square miles, there's nowhere for you to take that information.
You can't exactly build on it.
Hmm.
How am I supposed to say, wow, that's a lot of square miles?
Exactly. The true goal of small talk isn't to educate the other person on municipal borders. People want to know what it feels like to live there. They want your daily reality.
So when you give them raw data, you're building a wall of numbers instead of a bridge.
A bridge of shared experience, yes.
Okay, so if we're throwing away the statistics, we need a new starting point. And the source suggests replacing those numbers with the sheer energy of the place.
Which is so much easier, honestly.
And there's a really clever mechanical trick here in the guide for talking about size. Instead of just dropping a heavy, absolute word like big or small, you add a modifier.
Right, like pretty or fairly.
Yeah, so you say it's a pretty big city or a fairly quiet town.
Let's look at why those modifiers work so well psychologically. The word pretty or fairly acts as a conversational cushion. Well, if you just say, it is a big city, it sounds like a definitive close statement. End of story.
Kind of shuts the door.
Right. But saying, it's a pretty big city, softens the delivery. It sounds subjective. It invites the listener to imagine their own version of a big city.
which naturally leaves room for them to ask a follow-up question.
Exactly. It just shows you're relaxed and open to chatting.
It's like painting a quick watercolor instead of drafting an architectural blueprint.
Mm.
You're just laying down that first wash of color to give them a vibe.
I love that analogy.
And to do that, the guide pairs those soft modifiers with energy words, like lively. Lively is so much more effective than saying highly populated.
Oh, absolutely. Lively paints a picture of movement. You instantly see shops open, people walking on the sidewalks, constant activity.
It conveys a feeling of being awake.
But on the flip side, if your town is smaller, the guide suggests describing it as peaceful and relaxed.
Which immediately brings up a specific emotion.
Right. Hearing peaceful conjures images of quiet streets, maybe big oak trees, a neighbor waving from a porch.
Yeah, by sharing that emotion, you're signaling to the other person how you experience your world.
You're inviting them into your perspective, which is just a deeply human way to communicate.
Totally. So once that watercolor's painted and they have a sense of the energy, listeners usually want, one concrete detail to hold on to.
Right. Some specific thing to anchor the chat.
And the guide offers an incredibly reliable formula for this. The phrase famous for, like it's famous for its beautiful beaches or it's famous for incredible jazz music.
It acts as a conversational anchor. And the ultimate anchor, according to the text, is food.
Always food.
There's this great story in the guide about a language learner who simply mentioned his city was famous for spicy street tacos.
Spicy street tacos. I mean, I'm already interested.
Yay! And that one simple phrase triggered a 20-minute conversation.
Sure, because food bypasses all cultural barriers. We all have to eat, and most of us love talking about what we eat.
Exactly. Mentioning a specific local dish gives the listener an immediate sensory experience.
They can almost taste the spicy tacos. And then that easily cascades into a much longer chat about, like, favorite dinners, cooking,
Yeah.
travel.
It just proves that you can start with geography and immediately pivot to a universal human comfort.
Okay, I definitely see the power in the taco example.
Wow.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
What if your town isn't famous for anything at all? Like, let's say you don't have a world-class beach, no jazz history, no legendary street food. You just live in a totally average, normal place.
Which is most people, by the way.
Right. The guide suggests talking about everyday life in that case, saying something like, it's not very touristy, but it's a really comfortable place to live.
Yes. The ordinary city defense.
But doesn't leading with not very touristy sound a bit apologetic? Like, you're admitting your hometown is boring.
It's so interesting you say that. We are really conditioned by media to believe our lives need to sound spectacular all the time.
Yeah, everything has to be amazing.
But the psychology behind admitting a place is not very touristy works brilliantly because it signals authenticity. You're stepping off the stage and just being honest.
Oh, I see.
When you follow it up by calling the neighborhood a comfortable or cozy place to live, you completely reframe the narrative.
Because cozy implies warmth, right?
Right.
Safety, relaxation.
Exactly. You're not apologizing, you're celebrating the fact that it's a great home. Most of us don't live next to the Eiffel Tower.
No, we really don't.
Most human beings live in ordinary, functional places. When you admit that your town is just a comfortable, normal place, you actually often see the other person physically relax.
Because you remove the pressure of pretending to be spectacular.
Right. It allows them to say to themselves, oh, thank God, my town is pretty normal too. You connect over shared everyday reality.
That transition from trying to be spectacular to just embracing everyday reality naturally leads into the next section of the guide, which is the logistics of daily life.
Right. The day-to-day stuff.
Because once someone feels safe in your cozy, ordinary city, they naturally want to know how you survive the day-to-day. This brings up the shared human experiences of commuting and dealing with the weather.
Which everyone loves to complain about.
Exactly. The phrase to get around is highlighted here as highly useful. It's a very natural way to describe daily transportation.
Yeah, you might say, it's really easy to get around by bike, or you have to take the subway to get around.
It grounds the conversation.
Yeah.
It helps the person visualize what your Tuesday morning actually looks like.
Furthermore, it introduces action. You're moving through the city, which makes the description feel dynamic rather than static.
Right. And the same principle applies to talking about the weather. You keep it focused on how it feels rather than the scientific data.
No more Celsius and Fahrenheit conversions.
Please no. Just say it's sunny most of the year or it gets pretty cold in the winter.
Hmm.
But the absolute best piece of advice in this entire section is how to handle a city that gets a lot of rain.
Oh, this part is brilliant.
The guide suggests playfully telling the person, you should definitely bring an umbrella if you visit. I just love that survival tip aspect.
Let's break down why that specific sentence is so powerful. On the surface, obviously, you're communicating the fact that it rains frequently.
Right.
But underneath, you're doing something much more sophisticated. You're offering a survival tip. By offering advice, you shift from being an interviewee to being a caring host.
It mimics the language of longtime friends, like you're looking out for them.
Exactly. Telling them to bring an umbrella implies a hypothetical future where they actually come to visit you. It creates a welcoming scenario.
He says, I've got your back.
And that builds trust incredibly fast, even if they literally never end up visiting your city.
So we've covered the vibe, the famous foods, the ordinary comforts, and the umbrella survival tips. We know what to talk about.
Right.
But the guide includes a section called Smoothing It Out, which focuses on how to say these things better. It takes basic, clunky sentences and gives them a slight upgrade.
Which is crucial for language learners, definitely. But honestly, native speakers use these upgrades all the time to sound more engaging, too.
Yeah, because under pressure, people default to very rigid sentence structures. So the guide identifies these common mistakes and provides smoother alternatives.
Let's look at the mechanics of these upgrades.
Okay, the first one is about population. A beginner might say, my city is have many people.
The meaning is clear, but it's tangled.
Right. So the guide suggests upgrading to, my city is pretty crowded, or there's always a lot going on. Why does a phrase like a lot going on work so much better than just saying many people?
Well, many people is just a visual fact. It's a head count. A lot going on describes an ecosystem.
Oh, I like that. An ecosystem.
Yeah, it implies events, culture, movement, excitement. It sidesteps tricky grammar entirely while projecting a sense of maturity and confidence.
You aren't just counting heads, you're describing the social environment in a way that sounds incredibly natural.
And the history upgrade operates on the exact same logic. Instead of saying, it is a city very old, which sounds like a rough translation.
Right.
The smooth upgrade is to say, it's a historic city, or it has a lot of history.
It has a lot of history. It's an open loop, isn't it?
Exactly. If you say something is very old, that is a closed fact. Done. But if you say it has a lot of history, it practically begs a listener to ask, oh, what kind of history? Are there old buildings?
It acts as a deliberate conversation starter.
Exactly.
And then there's the food upgrade, which I totally geek out over. Someone might say, the food is good in my city.
Which is fine.
Totally fine, completely correct. But the upgrade is, we have an amazing food scene. I just love that. When you say good food, I just picture a tasty hamburger on a plate.
Right. A single meal.
But when you say food scene, I picture an entire culture.
Because a scene implies a community. It suggests there are underground markets, competitive chefs, passionate locals, hidden cafes.
It elevates the act of eating from a biological necessity to an exciting cultural event.
And these small upgrades allow a speaker to sound much more expressive and energetic. It maximizes the impact of your words while keeping the grammar structure relatively simple.
Now, the guide also mentions a tool called Mr. English AI, which is a digital assistant available around the clock.
Right, for practicing.
Yeah, the idea is you can practice these smooth phrases like amazing food scene or historic city in a zero-pressure environment before you ever have to use them in public.
Which is huge. That kind of low-stakes practice is essential to gaining fluency.
Building that muscle memory means that when the pressure is on at a conference, your brain automatically reaches for the upgraded phrase instead of freezing up.
Exactly. You don't have to think about it.
Which brings us to the most terrifying part of any conversation,
Oh boy.
the silence that follows your answer.
Yeah, the dreaded pause.
You've successfully painted the watercolor, you mentioned the spicy tacos, offered your umbrella tip, and deployed the phrase, amazing food scene. You gave a beautiful description.
Perfect execution.
But how do you stop that awkward silence from rushing in the second you stop talking?
This is where the entire interaction succeeds or fails, right here. Many people panic. They feel like they have to keep talking to fill the void, or they just awkwardly stare at the other person.
Which makes it weird.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the guide provides a role play to demonstrate the fix for this.
Walk us through it.
Okay, so in the role play, two people, Emily and Paul, meet at a conference. Paul describes Seattle as a lively city on the coast with great coffee.
Nice vibe.
Right. And then he uses the ultimate conversational secret weapon. He simply passes the ball back.
Pass the ball back.
Yes. He asks, "How about you? What is your hometown like?" And then Emily takes her turn describing her historic city with its amazing food scene.
I view this exactly like a game of tennis.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
You can spend years perfecting your serve. You can hit the most beautiful, poetic serve over the net, describing your cozy neighborhood with perfect grammar and incredible vocabulary.
Beautiful form.
But if you don't hit the ball back over the net to the other person by asking a question, the game is over.
It's just done.
You're just standing there on the court, holding your racket while the other person watches.
Passing the ball takes all the pressure off your shoulders. You no longer have to carry the weight of entertaining them.
Which is a relief.
But more importantly, it proves your emotional intelligence. It shows you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, you're actually curious about their life.
And that genuine curiosity
Yeah.
is the foundational block of making new friends. It shows empathy and engagement. But let me throw a wrench in this real quick.
Okay, let's hear it.
What if they're terrible at tennis? What if you ask, how about you? And they just say, oh, I'm from London, it's big. And they don't give you a watercolor or a vibe. How do you keep the rally going if they shut down?
Well, that is a phenomenal test of these skills. If they give a closed answer, you can use the exact same framework to gently prompt them.
Oh, so you use the tools on them.
Exactly. You become the conversational coach for them. You can ask for an energy word, like, is it a lively part of London or more relaxed?
Oh, that's good.
Or you can go straight for the universal anchor. What is the food scene like there? You essentially guide them through the same comforting framework you just used to describe your own city.
You just keep feeding them the ball until they feel comfortable enough to rally back.
Precisely.
Okay, let's bring all of this together. The core takeaway from this source material is incredibly liberating. When someone asks you, tell me about your city, you do not need to be a walking encyclopedia.
You do not need to sound like a textbook.
You just need to be human, share a little piece of your everyday world, and focus on the feeling of the place rather than the hard facts.
Use those soft modifiers like pretty big or fairly quiet. Grab a few of those great energy words we discussed, like lively if it's busy, or cozy if it's just a regular, comfortable neighborhood.
Offer a survival tip about the rain. Upgrade your phrases to talk about the food scene or having a lot going on. And above all else, remember to pass the ball back.
Just ask, how about you?
Mastering the simple interaction opens the door to so much more. The guide actually notes that these exact same muscles apply to asking about someone's weekend plans or their hobbies.
The skills are entirely transferable. But as we wrap up, consider how these frameworks apply outside of just spoken conversations, too.
Like where?
Think about written communication, like dating app profiles or professional networking bios. People constantly list cold facts about themselves in these spaces.
That's so true, just bullet points.
Exactly. They list their job title, their zip code, the specific degrees they hold. But if you apply the rules from this guide and instead describe your own vibe, your everyday comforts, or your favorite local food scene, you instantly stand out.
Wow, yeah.
The vocabulary you choose to describe your environment actually shapes how approachable and human you seem to the rest of the world.
It transforms you from a list of data points into a real three-dimensional person.
Exactly.
So, Next time that intimidating question pops up, don't reach for the statistics. Just paint the watercolor. But before we go, we want to leave you with a thought to mull over today. Think about your own city right now. If you had to describe the energy of your street today using just one non-geographical word, what would it be? And how might sharing that single honest feeling open up a completely new conversation the next time you meet someone? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep practicing, and we'll catch you next time.